Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another edition of On the Record presented by CalledIt. I'm your host, Andy Burke, and as always, I am thrilled to be here with you for about the next half hour or so as we talk about some of the top trending topics in the sports and just really entire world in general, pop culture, business, politics, sports, whatever it is, you know we have you covered here on the record, covering all prediction platforms. And just a reminder, if you're a bit unfamiliar with the program and our content, you can sign up. It's completely free at www.calledit.media. And when you enter your email address, again, it's completely free. You're not going to get spammed or anything like that. You just get an email once a day with our daily call, whatever that's going to be revolving around, and you can decide whether you want to follow it, whether you want to go the opposite direction, or if you want to include an alternate trade of your own, and it's logged on the record. And there you can see how you stack up amongst the rest of the community leaderboard and to have some fun with it. And speaking of which, we're going to have plenty of it on today's show. We have Game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Spurs, so the daily call does revolve around that, as does our challenge called The Run, which again, if you're unfamiliar, well, let me tell you about it, because it is quite the challenge for sure, as we look to turn a $250 investment all the way up to $1 million through the course of 12 other trades. Now, unfortunately, last night didn't go to plan. It was a thriller of a game out in Sin City between the Knights and the Hurricanes. The trade that was going to be our fourth, if it came to fruition, was on the Golden Knights. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes did come out on top, but the good news is that we're starting the run all over. We start with another $250 investment, and we look to work our way up to that $1 million milestone. So we'll get that kicked off today with some coverage in the NBA. We'll also talk some World Cup. We have the first game happening tomorrow. What are some unique markets you could trade on? How about mentions in the broadcast? That's going to be something we unveil our thoughts on. And just for some fun, trending topic, who has the best fans in the World Cup? Which nation takes the cake for that? Maya Campion, Dane Martinez, and myself will be discussing all of that and plenty more here on the record. So let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Dane, my man, welcome to the program. As always, happy to have you here. You and I were talking before the show. I mean, you've got some mayhem happening your way out on the East Coast. The Knicks, some World Cup action. How you hanging in there, brother?
We're doing okay. I mean, there's been a lot of hullabaloo about the watch parties and the environment around Madison Square Garden, but you're absolutely right. I am close by. MSG is going to be rocking tonight for Game 4. I'm glad that that is the subject of our call, but it gets even crazier because if this series comes back for Game 6, it is happening the same night as France's first World Cup match in MetLife Stadium. I can only imagine what Penn Station is going to be like as people try to maneuver both of those events. But as a true Knicks fan, and you will see that when I agree with the call or disagree with the call, I'm not sure we even make it to Game 6, so we'll find out.
Ooh, I like it, my friend. I like it. Can't wait to dive into that with you as always. And then on my other side, we have Maya Campion. Maya, I know that you are absolutely pumped for the start of the World Cup tomorrow. We've been gearing up for it day after day after day. And we were talking about it, us three before the show. We may have to incorporate a new segment. Where in the world is Maya? Because we were having trouble trying to locate you. And you still haven't even gotten to the States yet because you will be in attendance for the World Cup.
I am slowly making my way over there. I am in Serbia at the moment, and Serbia haven't even qualified for the World Cup, and still you can feel the excitement here. My bags have been packed for weeks. I mean, I think I speak for every football fan when I say these 24 hours before the World Cup begins, genuinely one of the best feelings. I am so ready. I just need to try and adjust to the time zone differences, but I'm sure it will be easy with all the excitement going on.
Now, Maya, have you been to the United States before?
I have. I lived in Miami for 4 years. And,
okay.
it was when Messi moved over to play for Inter Miami. It was in that period. So I really saw the excitement there. I think that it would be amazing to go there for a game. But I will be more Dallas, Seattle, Vancouver, which I haven't been to before. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Well, that's awesome. I know, I was selfishly hoping you had it so we could get some content like we see all these other people coming over and enjoying the fast food. And we were talking about again before the show, everybody going to the gas stations just marveling at how big they are. So, regardless, I'm sure it'll be a great trip for you. And of course, we're excited to see you have boots on the ground for that once the World Cup gets underway and you make your way across the pond. But guys, let's go ahead and kick things off with today's Daily Call. Dane, as you alluded to, that is the focus of our attention today. And as you can see on our screen right there, Knicks and Spurs, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Spurs bounced back in Game 3. And I know that CalledIt was trending toward the direction of the over, and that did come through to fruition. However, the Daily Call today, guys, is going on the New York Knicks. So in the daily email, again, you can get all of that information. The Knicks to win versus Spurs. The yes was trading at 54%. So a 54% chance the market believes that the Knicks do overcome the Spurs comes out to 54 cents. Now, CalledIt believes the true chances should be more so at 56%. And you can still see there is some value based on where CalledIt has it attributed. Dane, let's kick it to you. I know you got boots on the ground yourself when it comes to the hoops in the NBA Finals. You seem very eager for this game, and I can imagine why, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no surprise. I'm going to back the call and also go with the New York Knicks here. You know, when everybody was talking about game 3, to me, the biggest thing is it wasn't a game. It was more of a circus. It was more of a spectacle. You know, everything between kind of the environment, the watch parties, the president there, Cardi B doing a halftime show. It was kind of almost assumed here in New York that it was going to be Knicks in 4. You may have seen some of the viral clips. You may have seen some of the watch parties, right? And I kind of think the Knicks got ahead of themselves. It kind of felt like almost crazily the Knicks were the ones that were tight. The Knicks that were ones that had the pressure on them. And I think now that they got that out of their system, this kind of resorts back to a normal basketball game. And the other thing is, I think the Knicks need to resort back to the way they were playing in this 13-game playoff winning streak, specifically around the ball movement, okay? They have been playing, and Maya would love this, the beautiful game. When it comes to basketball, that's what they have been doing in this winning streak. They have been going through cat, whereas in game 3, Jalen Brunson was kind of playing a little bit more hero ball. He wasn't passing the ball. He was holding it for large portions of the shot clock. And so I think they need to get more fluidity in their offense. They need to have more ball movement in their offense. They also didn't play well in the fourth quarter. They went 0 of 10 for a stretch from beyond the arc in the fourth quarter. I don't think that continues. And I don't want to cry foul and all of that, but there was a huge disparity in the fouls and in the free throws. I think the San Antonio Spurs shot 24 free throws in that game, whereas the Knicks only shot 8. You saw the Wemby push on Jalen Brunson in his neck and all that. But to me, the biggest thing here is it was just such a circus, such a spectacle, from everything from the Nixon 4 chants to President Trump falling asleep somehow at the Garden. And I think we go back to when we say game 4, I think we return back to a game. And I think the Knicks wind up taking this one. So I agree with the call here on the record.
Maya, how do you see this game breaking down out in Madison Square Garden? Does the spectacle come back down to earth and the Knicks get back into their rhythm, or do you think the Spurs have now captured that momentum and can tie this thing up?
You know, I'm with Dane on this one and with CalledIt. And I'll be honest, basketball isn't really my sport, but I don't think that you need to be an NBA expert to read this one. I mean, Brunson played game 3 on a dodgy knee, still scored 32 points. If that's his bad day, I'll take my chances with him at home. I mean, this is New York, Madison Square Garden, game 4. I think it's going to be absolutely electric. I'm with CalledIt on this one.
Well, guys, unfortunately, there's going to be no contrarian on this take because I'm absolutely with you. I made this trade immediately once I saw CalledIt had some action on it. I was going to be taking it anyways. But you make excellent points. I mean, Brunson a little bit banged up, slow to get into the mix of things, still had a great performance. Dane, I think you bring up a very valuable talking point as well in terms of just how much of a spectacle it was. I mean, the fact that you had the championship in Madison Square Garden for such a long time in between the last time we saw that event take place. There are heightened emotions there. There were, areas where focus was detailed instead of on the court. Now, you can only speculate as much of how that would be with the players, but it was evident with kind of their dodgy start. And you had a player like Karl Anthony Towns miss a lot of big shots. Think role players who are so crucial like Landry Shamet. He went like 1 of 8, and the 2 games prior they won, he was contributing. So if you get those guys to step up, I don't think the Knicks lose again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can report here. I think, Danny, you saw, I put stuff on social media. I was outside of the building after game 2 of the finals where they got the win in San Antonio. You could tell, this is not a data-driven kind of take, but the vibe was completely different in game 3. There was a lot of stuff around the spectacle. There was a lot of stuff around the pressure, the anxiety. It had literally gone from the Knicks being underdogs at the start of this series to assumptions that the Knicks were going to sweep this series somehow, right? I think it kind of got carried away on a number of levels, and I expect and hope for a return to basketball, not only in terms of the vibe and the environment, but the Knicks returning to the things that have brought them such success in this playoff streak. And that is mostly the ball movement, mostly leveraging Cat outside. And as you know, Danny, NBA series, there's a term here in the kind of prediction market sports betting world called the zigzag theory, right? Where you also, teams make adjustments, then you have to adjust back. We saw some of the adjustments in terms of kind of not using Wemby to go ahead and play Cat, in terms of how they were using Keldon Johnson, for example, in terms of how the Knicks were playing. And I think that kind of reverts back and the zigzag comes back to the Knicks tonight for game 4.
Completely agree with you, Dane. And I know us three are all on the same page for game 4 of the NBA Finals. Called It is repping a trade on the Knicks. Traded them at 54 cents. They believe it should be trading at 56 cents. And we clearly do not disagree on that. So a lot of pressure with the whole panel's on the same side. But hey, if it comes through, nobody's going to be crying about that. So let's go, Knicks. We will all be rooting for that trade to come through. And so we could get another leg on the run. Our quest to turn $250 into $1 million. So, guys, obviously there's excitement on the hardwood. But naturally, with the World Cup starting tomorrow, there is plenty excitement on the pitch. And that game between Mexico and South Africa, of course, we could look at the normal markets, but we like to go a little bit outside of the box. And that's kind of the fun thing with these prediction platforms, right? And one that you can target at Kalshi that really stands out, at least for us it does. How about what will the announcer say during Mexico and South Africa in this World Cup match? You can kind of see scrolling down, you got the president's name in there, you've got corner, you've got crossbar, shutout, Messi, all of these different things. Maya, we know this ain't your first rodeo. I know you won't be in attendance for it, but you've been dialed for the World Cup. You got to have some kind of inkling what these broadcasters are going to say, right?
Yeah, I don't mind this concept if you're not really a football fan. We spoke about this a little bit before, but maybe there isn't as much hype as there is in Europe right now. And this generates that excitement. It's a reason to be invested in the game. It's basically, a drinking game you're going to get paid for. I would take part, but it's only because I won't be interested in the outcome of the game. If it's England playing and they're mentioning Pulisic being top goal scorer at the tournament, I'm gonna have to mute it, at some point during the tournament. I don't even need to bet on whether they're gonna say the beautiful game. They're gonna say it about 4 times before halftime. What concerns me with this here is that penalty shootout at 25 cents. I mean, it's a group stage game. It can't go to penalties. So it even concerns me that anyone is considering putting their money on that one. But, electric atmosphere. Trump also mentioned their visa as well, which I think is definitely going to be a talking point. So I think those ones are for sure a safe bet for something that the commentators are going to mention in a 90-minute game.
Dane, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, actually. So, Maya is the true football fan here, right? But I actually think some of these are interesting because I think there's some value here. I'll give you 2. One, is the word Azteca, which is at 73%. So that's about 1.3 times your money, right? And question, I don't know what CalledIt has it at, but I bet it's better than 73%. I think there's so many different ways where they will wind up being able to stay Stadium Azteca. Okay, first of all, it is the first game of the World Cup. They're going to do all the kind of, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh, Mexico hosting. They're going to mention where the game is being played in Estadio Azteca. And if you've been here on the Record, you know part of the reason that I am backing Mexico. I have talked about Mexico in Group A. I have talked about Mexico as a good cash out option. And one of the reasons is because of the elevation of Estadio Azteca. And so I also believe not just in the kind of pomp and circumstance of the game, but also at some point in the later minutes of the game, there will likely be some kind of reference to South Africa maybe dragging their feet a little bit, maybe, losing stamina a little bit, and that will be attributed to the elevation at Estadio Azteca. So I absolutely believe Azteca will be mentioned by the broadcasters. I think it is better than 73%, which you can get it at right now on these prediction markets. And there is one other, and I like how Maya, found, I saw that too, the penalty shootout, but in a group stage game where it could just be a draw and there would be no penalty shootout. You never know how they keep talking, though, about the format of the tournament or anything like that. But one actual soccer term that I think there's value on is the word handball being said by the announcers. That is at 53 or 56%. And I think there is a better than that chance that that word is mentioned. Now, obviously, there doesn't even need to be a handball for that phrase to be uttered, right? Like, yes, maybe there's going to be a handball. And then obviously, but there are so many times where people say, we're going to have a review to see if there is a handball. Or the commentators can say, oh, nope, it wasn't a handball because it got his elbow or it got his shoulder or he wasn't moving his arm away from his body to create the handball. And I actually believe that handball, which is right around 53, 56%, that is about 1.6 times your money. And so those are two phrases I think will be uttered. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, Azteca could be the way to go. But if you're actually like Maya, and I would love to get her thoughts on it, I think that there are so many ways the announcers will utter the phrase handball, even if there is not an actual handball in the game.
Yeah, I think that when I was looking at this, there's so many possible ways that you can make money from it, because I don't see how they could go through 90 minutes of the game and not mention some of these. We're talking about the opening game. Donald Trump will be in attendance for it. They're going to be talking about champs, I think was also on the list, or champions. Messi, of course. I mean, it's the opening game. They're going to have the location, Azteca, easy. If they don't mention the location of the game, it would be absurd. So that for me is a certainty.
Yeah, I think those are great points. I kind of like the look of crossbar trading at 46 cents. Of course, if you get a shot around there, maybe a little bit trickier than some of those others, but that's one that stood out to me. And before we move on to a little bit more of a fun topic, Dane, going back to Azteca, and Maya, you said it too, like, how are you not going to mention the location of it? Some people may look at that trading above 70 cents and be a bit shy because of how expensive it is. But at the end of the day, value is relative, right? Now, we're not guaranteeing anything, but let's be honest. I mean, more often than not, they're going to be saying this. So what would you suggest to maybe some people who may be hesitant because of those reasons?
Yeah, no, I understand that, right? When you see something that's 70 something percent, but that is still 1.3 times your money. Okay. And, I like it. And maybe you get it real early and then you reinvest. And a wise man once told me, Danny, you can't go broke making a profit. So I understand that, you don't want to make your hay kind of in the sports betting world, betting like minus 300s all the time, because the one time you get banged out, it is a problem. But I truly do like this one. And I want to let people know that when it says 70, I think it was 76%, that in essence means 1.3 times your money. So yeah, it's not a huge long shot, but honestly, that's where people wind up getting crushed in this environment, right? Everybody wants to, make the big long shot, or people see on social media that this person hit a 15 leg parlay. That's what the books and that's what Kalshi, Polymark, that's what they want you to do. A lot of times it's better to just inch it up the hill, and Azteca is a way to do so.
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to give you zero stress, because they're going to mention it probably before the game even starts. And for the next 90 minutes, you can relax knowing that you have 1.3 times your money. No worries. It's an easy one for me.
Hey, that's what we're looking for here. Love it. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to invest on Azteca. I love the breakdown from both of you guys and cannot wait for that to start. And what we also can't wait for is to see all of these fans traveling from all over the world. This is what I want to get your guys' thoughts on next. Now, it's not something that we're trading on per se, but there is a strong competition of which nation is going to have the best fans at the World Cup. You can see here in this video, I mean, the Argentinian fans just completely taking over Times Square. There's so many different types of videos and pictures of all these fans going nuts, from Scotland, Paraguay's insane send-off, all of these different aspects that just bring the world together. That's the idea of it, and it's so cool seeing it in North America, especially the United States, where soccer's maybe not that prevalent. And, we were talking about this, like, how exciting are people going to be about it? Are they gearing up for it? And when you see these fans get into these big cities, Maya, it's just going to be so fun, such a blast. But which nation do you think will represent the best in the World Cup this year?
Yeah, Argentina looks incredible there. But for me, it isn't even debatable. It has to be Scotland. I mean, Boston was too expensive for a lot of them. So what they did was they set up a WhatsApp group. They moved their base to Providence in Rhode Island. They negotiated their own hotel rates at around $70 a night, which, if you're going to any of the games, that's a great price. And then my favorite part, they chartered a fleet of yellow American school buses to shuttle themselves to the stadium, which over 20 buses, 1,000 plus fans, they cut the official transport costs in half. I mean, that's logistics. That's a military operation. And there's something uniquely charismatic about a fan base that turns up in these colossal numbers for a team that, and I say this with love, will probably break their hearts. I mean, it's 10,000 kilometers round trip, potentially for a group stage exit. And that's support, that's devotion, it's admirable, and I'm English, so if I'm praising the Scottish, it really means that I think that the fan base is incredible.
Dane, what do you think?
Yeah, so, my knee-jerk reaction was some of the South American nations, right? Like the Argentinians, the Colombians, that I think, by the way, Colombia could be a dark horse to win this tournament or go very far. But on social media over the last few days, I have been inundated, my feed at least, with some of the Europeans that are here in America and are seeing portions or elements of the United States that they are unfamiliar with. And so that gets me to Germany. And I think Germany could be an answer here. Now, the Germans obviously love to party, love to drink, love to have fun, and they have a team that can obviously contend, right? So they are excited on a different level. Like Maya talks about Scotland, but they're probably going to be an exit in the group stage. Not so for the Germans. And then I don't know if you've seen this, Danny, but we've got Germans like touring around the South. And that's what I think is great. They're in the South for, I think their first game is in Houston. So they're driving around like SEC country here in college football, if you know what I mean. And usually you would think, where are the big touristy cities, right, for Europeans coming over? They come to New York, they come to LA, they come to Vegas, they come to Miami. They don't know about like Gainesville, Georgia. They don't know about, like Austin, Texas, or cities in Alabama. And they're seeing things like Waffle House. They're seeing things like Taco Bell. They're seeing things like that. And I have been kind of, I thought it's really interesting and funny, quite frankly, to have some of these Europeans, specifically a German feed that I am seeing and been watching, kind of really experience some of this element of not only American culture, but the South of America. And quite frankly, they're going to overlap very well in fandom. If you have ever seen a tailgate for an SEC kind of football game, and you know what all of the European kind of soccer hooliganism is all about, I think that's a great match. And I think the Germans are going to go absolutely bonkers here because they also have a chance to go pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when I was in university in Miami, every German that played, a sport at my school, they somehow managed to stay in the US and they're still there. They never left. I think what's funniest for me is all these Europeans are saying, "What do you mean you can't just walk to the stadiums? What do you mean? Like, it's ridiculous. We can walk everywhere here." So I think that they're really going to struggle if they want to walk, from Times Square to MetLife Stadium.
Oh, it's not going to happen. You can't do it, Maya.
I've seen people run. I've seen people run to show that they can do it. I think it's like maybe 11 miles. Does that sound?
That's about right. You got to go through a tunnel, though. But we'll see. There's different ways, and go through some swamplands. But we'll get into that another time. But you're right. It will be very interesting. And I've heard that before. Not to go off on a tangent, but when Europeans come and sign with an MLS team, one of the things that they struggle with is the amount of travel. Like if you're in Bundesliga, if you're in League One or whatever, all of those road games are very close within a country that is, small. But when in MLS, all of a sudden you're taking flights from Seattle to Miami to San Francisco to Philadelphia. And I have heard transplants from Europe playing in MLS say that the travel across 3 different time zones, Maya mentioned it before in her travel, was really something that they needed to get used to make that adjustment to American soccer.
Yeah, you look at the Iranian team that are staying in Mexico for visa reasons, and I was looking at the distances that they have to travel for games. I mean, it's ridiculous. There are teams, European, countries that have only just traveled to the US today. And I'm thinking, shouldn't you have been there at least, week and a half ago adjusting? The English are dying in the heat over there. So for me, it's a big risk that some European nations are only making their way over now.
No question about it. I know, and that's why it would have been great for them to be where I am in Chicago with the L, everything right in the city, but unfortunately that did not happen out in my neck of the woods. Now, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't put Maya on the hot seat a little bit here, because the last time we were on the program, we almost tried to throw her to the Swifties, but I kind of gotta get some controversy brewing here, Maya. Is there a country that you think has the most overrated fan base? Like, they think they're the cream of the crop, they're at the top, but you're like, all right, relax, guys. You're really not that passionate as some others.
I think that this is quite a risky take, but I think that the pressure consistently for Brazil just really heightens that chance for them to just implode. I mean, I was in Brazil for the Brazil World Cup, and the 7-1 loss to Germany. I mean, that was just shocking. And I think that Brazil is one of those just footballing nations that you always expect so much from, that if they're not, in the semi-final, it's a disappointment. And I feel like that amount of pressure and expectation, it can only fail miserably, or that percentage that it's gonna succeed. And for me, I'll put it on the record now, Brazil.
Let's
potentially.
Go.
No.
All right, hey, we're stirring something up every week, Dane. We got to get a little of that brewing now that we're getting into the thick of it with the World Cup. So, hey, we love to hear it, Maya and Dane. We love to hear everything from your side as well. I know it'll be rocking out in your neck of the woods for Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Cannot wait, and can't wait to see. Are you going to be anywhere, like any bar, any establishment? You were somewhere for Game 3 or maybe Game 2, but I saw you were going
Game 2. It was game 2, yeah, and I was right outside of Madison Square Garden. It was absolutely bananas, I mean, and then trying to walk the streets afterwards was just it was a beautiful thing because New York is also such a diverse community, and you see, and we've talked about it. People of different backgrounds, different religions, different everything coming together to love in this city. I think it is a beautiful thing, and I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna make the trip in tonight. It is still possible. So keep an eye on the social media feed at Spittin' Speeds over on X.
You heard the man at Spittin' Speeds, where you can follow him on X at Maya.pitchside, where you can follow Maya on Instagram. Shout out to those two for making it a fun show as always. And shout out to everybody tuning in. We appreciate you. And hopefully you can sweat alongside us our daily call today, because we're all in agreement. Called It has it. Maya has it. Dane has it. I have it as well. Could be dangerous, but hey, maybe we just have enough conviction. We are trading, yes, that the Knicks will overcome the Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. This is also, remember, part of the challenge, The Run, where we look to turn that $250 investment all the way to $1 million. They had to start over after the loss with VJK last night, but hopefully the New York Knicks, they bounce back and get us on the right track. So they believe, Called It does, that it should be trading at 56 cents. Right now it's at 54 cents. So a little bit of value there. Why not take advantage of it while we can? And something you should also take advantage of is heading to CalledIt.media to sign up for the daily newsletter so you can get ahead of the markets when the trades are being put out daily, and you can decide if you want to fade, follow, or add something different of your own. There's also merch and giveaways, all of these fun things happening at CalledIt.media. All the links are in the descriptions. Make sure you get in touch with all of that. But appreciate Dane and Maya tuning in, and appreciate all of you. Best of luck with your trades tonight. We will see you tomorrow once again, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on The Record. Until then, take care.